My name's Tyson McMurrin. I'll be your presenter today, and today we're going to be covering off how we can use Versago for business continuity during these uncertain times that we're facing right now. So I have a couple slides just to go through that kind of talk a little bit about Versago, what Versago is and the positioning, and then I'm going to get into some specific examples of some of the different types of roles and people that that need to be connected into the business. So people that power businesses need to connect to the business for hundreds of reasons all day long, day in and day out. They need the connection to be reliable and the interaction to be simple. Versago is a portal platform that enables your business to support key processes and interactions between employees, customers, suppliers, or other partners while staying in lockstep with SAP Business One. This is more important today, this messaging, than probably ever, because we have all of these different users that historically have been in the building that are working from home now, but still need to be able to communicate with people that are in the warehouse, or people that are on the shop floor, or other colleagues that are working out of their home offices. And the ability for us to centralize information, share information, and keep it out of Excel and off paper is really, really valuable right now. And like I said, I'll get into some specific examples in a few minutes, but basically it kind of starts with what Versago is. And Versago, you heard me mention it. It's a portal platform, and it's a loosely coupled platform, and it provides distinct advantages. For one, Versago connect to multiple databases, whether it's SAP companies or other backend databases. And the other thing that's important is that it's a flexible portal platform. So what does that mean to you? Well, what it means is that it's responsive. So regardless of the type of device that you're on, you're going to be able to display that data on that device. And the other thing, when I say flexible, what I mean by that is that we can get the data out of SAP Business One through a query, and we can display that information onto these screens. So any kind of information that we want to display out to users, we can display by just simply calling data and sharing it. Any information that we want to capture from a user, we can either keep that in Versago, or if we've decided that it's met some business criteria and it should go into SAP Business One, we can pass it through and get that information into SAP Business One. So really it becomes that central repository for all of those pieces of information that are stuck in email or stuck in Excel, or you need approval of something, and before it would be an email approval. So I'm going to walk you through a bunch of those examples today in our presentation. So historically, this is what the space typically looked like. You'd have these standalone apps or portals that were quite inflexible and required custom coding if you needed anything specific to your business. And it becomes really expensive and difficult to manage it when you have like 3 or 4 or 5 or even all of those different apps connected into your environment. You have to try and support all these services and the technologies around it. And what Versago is going to provide you is, as I mentioned, that platform that we can centralize everything into role-based portal platforms that ensure a familiar, repeatable user experience for all users. And what this allows us to do is give you that flexibility to meet the use cases that are unique to your business. So whether you're a salesperson and you need to look up inventory or enter orders, or if you're a customer and you need to enter an order or pay invoices, if you're the owner of the company and you need to gain some insight into what's going on, if you're a supplier and you want to collaborate better with your supplier, we can do that. And employees, whether it's requesting information, submitting expenses, collaborating, capturing shop floor data collection information, whatever the use case is there, we can certainly support that as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to log into Versago, and I'm going to show you how with the customer portal kind of features that I'm going to show you today, how we can continue in these uncertain times by connecting to our customer and making things really, really easy. So when we log in as a customer into Versago, the first thing that we can do is we can stay connected with them. So we can give them promotions, we can give them notifications, we can give them quick little blogs or posts in regards to information of how we're keeping safe, or how we're handling sanitation, or what our revised office hours are, or whatever the information is that we need that customer to know. We can share it here on the landing page. Now, the next thing that a customer can do is a couple of these favorites here, and it's important to note that these favorites are really kind of determined based off of the role that user's logged in as. So you can see that we can kind of direct the customer into what it is that we want them to do by setting these favorites here, and you'll see that the favorites will change depending on the user. Then down below we have this menu structure that's going to show you the different types of reports or different types of information that that the customer might want, or forms that we need the customer to enter information into in order to collaborate with us. So one of the big things that we're seeing right now is customers asking us, can I just get the customer to be able to place orders with us? Can I just get the customers to be able to pay us? Because all of these order entry clerks and all of those people are working from home now, and what Versago is going to give you is the ability to get all of the information out of Excel and get it into the system of record faster. So as a customer here, place an order. You can see that it's very intuitive and kind of familiar to us if you're an SAP Business One user, because you have header information that we're calling from SAP Business One here, ship tos and bill tos. And well, what if I need to add a ship to location? I'll show you that when we get to the admin side. We can go in, we can add ship to locations and those types of things within our admin functions here. We can put notes in that would come into the remarks. And then what we're going to do now is we're just going to start adding row details. And this is where we can start looking things up. So I know that I need a printer. And if I hover over top of the image here, it'll show me a bigger image. I can select that item. It's going to grab my pricing from SAP Business One for that item. And then if I click Save and New, it's going to allow me to keep adding items. If I click Save and Close, I'm now in basically my finish my order, validate, and then I can simply just click Save and Close here. And I've entered that order into SAP Business One just like that, because what's happened behind the scenes is that order has passed through the DI or the service layer, and validated all the information, and then puts it into SAP Business One. So if we go and look at my place sales orders, we can actually see here this is the sales order that we just entered, and it's approved, and it's in SAP Business One, and then here's the item that we ordered. I got asked recently, well, Tyson, that's great, that you have a header row kind of format, but what if I just want to place an order and I'm a single location, and I don't have all that complexity, and I don't need all that complexity. I just want to make it really, really easy for my customers. Well, no problem. What we did is we actually built this example where we can just go in and we can say reorder previous purchases. So we built a query for our customer here that basically says, show all the items that I've bought and show me the last purchase date and the current price that they're going to pay for it. And here you can compare to what the previous purchase price was and how many you bought last time. So in here, this allows your customer to just simply, quickly go in and say, I need 2 of these, I need 5 of these, or 56 of these, and they would just simply, when they're done, say continue to the review, submit that for processing, and then that creates an order in SAP Business One, very quickly and easily for the customer. So regardless of how you want that interaction to kind of work, we can kind of facilitate that. On the customer activity side of things, the other thing that we're seeing right now is, there's a lot of strain in the supply chain, and there's a lot of emails of customers emailing saying, do you have stock of this before I place the order? Because I want to make sure that I know that those items are coming this week, because I'm trying to plan and I'm trying to make sure that I'm meeting my demands of my customers. So in here, this is where we can give a report like this, where we can say, here's the inventory that you've bought from us, or here's all of our inventory for that matter. And this is what we have on hand. This is what we have available to promise. And this is what we have purchased coming in. So, and depending on permission, we can actually click on these. And this is where the user can see, which warehouses that stock is in, so that they can kind of, self-serve and determine whether or not they want to order that item. So very quickly they can see, this bittersweet medium vase is not in stock right now, and it doesn't look like we have anything coming in the near future either. So this would be an item that would likely get back ordered right now. So, just sharing as much information that we can, and really kind of making it easy for your customer to be able to kind of, answer those questions in a self-service manner, so that they're not having to wait and email, or maybe you're losing that order to a competitor because your competitor has this information available for them. Down here in the purchasing activity, I showed you a little bit, with the reorder previous purchases. This is where, we could see blanket agreements that maybe we've committed to that we need to change now with, the changing market space. Maybe I need to look at shipments and, where they're at. So here, we could see, how it was shipped, what the items are, when it was shipped, so that we can kind of, see and keep track of the supply chain and knowing when items are coming in. Maybe you need your customers to be able to request service or request a return. So here again, we can have some workflow where, they would enter in the service request and it would workflow to the service department, or they could enter a return request and this would go to a manager for approval. And then, here they can see the disposition of all of their return requests here of whether or not it's pending or approved. And then from there, a little bit later in today's webinar, I'll show you how as an approver, I can go in and approve documents. So we can stop this return request before it goes into SAP Business One, and then we can get approval before passing it through. And that was what I mentioned in that slide earlier, where we can capture information, hold it, do some more stuff with that, and then pass it to SAP Business One. Down here, this is where maybe I need to register some serial numbers or request a sample, so we can go in and do that. This is where, as I mentioned, if I needed to add an address, we can just simply click on add an address here. Is it a bill to or a ship to? What's the address name? And you fill in your information, save and close, and then that writes it into SAP Business One business partner record, and then when you go to place an order, that would be available for the user. On the billing side of things, this is another big one right now. In order to stay connected with your customer is one thing, but also being able to communicate with the accounts receivable department, or oh, I didn't send a payment because I didn't know what I owed you. Well, here's the aging report for them. Here's a list of all the invoices that are due, and we can even put little red marks on the documents that are late versus coming up due, or aren't due yet. So that's the first thing, is that whole self-service side of things, and eliminating the passing of information through email, allowing the customer to self-service, allowing us to interact with SAP Business One in a controlled manner where we're protecting the core of SAP Business One. Last thing up for a customer is really around being able to pay invoices. So this is where, here's the invoice. We can see the item that was bought, the quantity. We can simply just click on a line and say that we're going to pay it. Here, maybe we're going to, short pay this for whatever reason. We can go in and, select that line and say, this is how much we're going to pay. If we want to look at a copy of that invoice, or print off a copy of that invoice, or save it down to the server, we can call Crystal Report Runtime. It's going to call out their Crystal Report for them and display out the invoice for them to be able to download. Now here, if I click the confirm and process payment, this is going to do our incoming payment in SAP Business One, so it's going to do some of that reconciliation work for us. If there was a short payment here, we could have a link to a secondary form where they could enter in the reason why they're short paying, so that the accounts receivable department could start investigating the short payment or the credit request. Next up is here, this is how much we're going to pay you, and this is how we're going to pay you. We're going to send you an e-transfer, or if you want, you can also open up credit card and accept credit card payments. So right now, I know a lot of companies are accepting credit card payments, or they're accepting PayPal. So they're sending a PayPal invoice and getting it paid that way. What this allows you to do is control everything, allows you to confirm and do the reconciliations, so that we're not touching a whole bunch of steps, of trying to reconcile, oh, this money showed up in the bank, what is it for? And what am I clearing off for that payment? And, oh, I need to email Terry and ask him why he short paid on this invoice, and or ask him what invoices he paid for that matter. So it's just really kind of centralizing that whole experience, and being able to connect in a simple manner. So that's a customer side of things. You don't have to implement any or all of that with Versago. These are just examples, and I'll talk a little bit around the flexibility, because maybe you have user-defined fields or something specific that you need. We can certainly facilitate that as well. Next thing I'm going to cover off is really around an owner of a company who, historically, is getting information fed to him by users, having meetings, getting, Excel spreadsheets updated. We can take all of that information and we can put all of that into Versago for the executive or the owner. So here, I'll just log in as an executive here and just show you. So this is where, as an executive, we can start looking at, KPIs of, top customers by sales, items, year-over-year comparison is something that's probably really, really big right now. Looking at our year-to-date order fill rates and seeing, how we're comparing over shipping versus expected, what our quarterly orders look like. Maybe I want to look at gross profit analysis and see, where our gross profit is the best in which items or item groups, so that we can look at those types of things. Maybe I want to look at customer acquisition costs. So, what's it costing me by item groups to acquire the customers? Because maybe we have good margin on that, but maybe it costs us a lot of money to acquire that customer. Here we can look at, what do the customers owe me by customer groups. So this one's really important right now because there's a lot of industries that are being hard hit, and there's a lot of industries that are doing quite well through this downturn right now. So being able to identify where your risks are by customer balance is certainly going to help the executive kind of look at where their risks lie, and work with the accounts receivable department, work with the sales department, work with everybody in order to make sure that collections are still coming in, and then enabling things like a customer portal and turning on credit card payment and those types of things. Certainly kind of the accumulation of all of those different factors is going to really allow you to be able to react and also come through this with better processes, whether you're working out of a home office in the future or back in the regular office. Having revised processes, having access to information like this, certainly is going to be valuable. And a little bit later, I'll talk in regards to how these reports are built, but a lot of this information we've already built out in SAP Business One in queries and those types of things. So just giving the executive these quick dashboards and visibility into what's going on is extremely valuable. Next, I'm going to show you a sales employee. So this is a sales rep. Sales rep, kind of similar to a customer where they're going to be entering information in, but here's the sales reps KPI, so they can see what's going on. They can see the trending in their particular piece of the business. Maybe we just need to enter an opportunity. What's going on with that opportunity, and this will look familiar if you've used SAP Business One opportunities, because we're just mimicking and writing that back into SAP Business One for you. Maybe we need to create a quote, so we can go in and create a quote. Maybe we need to look at what the inventory is, but because I'm an internal person, I can actually see who we've ordered the items from and when we're expecting to get them as well. So I get a little bit more access into that information. Maybe I need to look at what are my sales opportunities looking like? So here's a list of all my sales opportunities, and here's my open ones. So we can start drilling into some of this and looking at it. We can get on the phone and call Brad, or we can revise quotes. We can kind of keep connected. Maybe we want to process a return request. So this is where we can enter in a return request for the customer. And then when I log in a little bit later as an approver, I'll show you where as an approver we can approve these. So again, very similar to a customer where I just need access to information. This one's a big one as well, that a lot of our customers really like, which is around managing forecasts. Because if we look at our forecasts, and if we can revise our forecasts, and if we're getting that information from the sales rep up front, that's going to really allow us to get a better insight into what's going on. There's some use case examples that we have. If you're interested in this forecasting and collaborating forecasting, one of our Versago customers has estimated that they're probably saving around $30,000 a month in just dead inventory or cash flow tie up, because they're getting better forecasts from their sales reps through using Versago like this. The next area that I want to talk about is around the supplier. So as part of the supply chain, we really want to eliminate touching. So what do I mean by that? Well, if I send an email to a supplier for pricing on something, and if I have to wait in order to cut the PO until tomorrow morning because I'm homeschooling the kids for the next 3 hours and I'm not checking my email and the vendors replied with the pricing and I haven't gotten that purchase order to them, I've lost a day of transacting just because of that, simple interruption. So this is where we can go in and we can, workflow things where, you can have your purchase request, you can have rules around that purchase request that are looking at the acceptable pricing. And as a supplier, you can have the supplier log in and they can respond to those quote requests. So, in here, this is where we can go in and we can go to our quote requests down here and we can respond to those quote requests. So this is where we can go in, enter in our pricing for it. We even have a quote responses here. So this will actually show you whether or not, that was actually put into the system. And then the next thing after that is all of the purchase orders are going to come through, directly to your vendor here, so they can see, here's the items that we need fulfilled. Now, further to the less touching is we can also go a little bit further. This is where we can have our vendors start to package these goods for us. So if we have these orders that need to be palletized, we can have them, create the SSCC, or we can and scan it so that we know, which box these items are in and what's in those boxes. And what this allows us to do is just to be able to cross-dock these goods when we receive them, so we don't have to open up all of the boxes and validate what's in those boxes or validate what's on the pallets. So whether we want to tell them this is what we want packed on the pallet, and then we just need them to update the batch numbers and expiration dates, we can do that. Or in this example, this is where they can go in and they could create the pallet, and add in the items that need to be palletized based off of the report that we give them. So again, what we're trying to do is eliminate those touches, those unnecessary touches, because right now the faster we can keep goods moving, the less touches that we can do, the less manual data entry, the less information stuck in email waiting for somebody to action on that we can do, the faster that we can respond, and probably the more efficient and the more profitable we're going to be through this downturn, by enabling these Versago features in order to keep things moving. Another example of how we can help our suppliers right now is maybe we're holding purchase orders really tight and we're only issuing them, but these are the items that we typically get that maker to make for us. And we can share a forecast to them saying, this is how many we think we're going to need in a particular period. And what that allows the vendor to do is make their own decision of, I'm going to make 3,000 of these items because I'm likely going to get a purchase order for them, or I know that we can sell those. So this allows the vendor to kind of make some of those decisions in regards to if there's some downtime and they want to manufacture some goods. This allows them to kind of look at it, and it just kind of keeps the supply chain moving a little bit tighter. Here, this is here's what's late for me. From here we can link into the update the shipping information of this item for me, please, so that we know exactly what's going on with this shipment. So making it really easy for the supplier to share the tracking information to us, so it's not, again, stuck in email and then somebody's going into SAP Business One just to update the shipping information. We can link all that information in real time so that we can update the purchase order with that shipping information, and we know exactly what's going on. So instead of all this living in Excel spreadsheets that are being made on the fly because people are working from home, and it's no longer on a whiteboard, or it's no longer just common knowledge because you just conversing it across the hall to the person that needs to know when the items are coming. Now we can share all this information, we can collaborate all that information, and we can bring that supply chain a little bit tighter because of these collaboration points. The last area of use cases that I'm going to cover off today is really an important one, and this is where we're seeing a lot of the approvers, a lot of the middle managers working from a home office, but the warehouse staff are still in the warehouse, fulfilling orders, or there's people working from a home office now that need to be able to enter expense reports so that they can get reimbursed for items that they had to buy for their home office. We need to get the production information into the system that historically we had users, handwriting out, this is what went into that production order. This is the materials, this is the time. We can automate a lot of that using the employee side of things. So I'm going to show you two logins here on this. The first one that I'm going to do is an employee. So this is just an employee, and this is where we can go in and we can enter expenses. So as we start to narrow down, the users and the entry status, we can lock out fields like the approval status based off of those users. We can link to projects if there's a project that we want to link to. So here, this is where we can start to enter in the expense information of the expense and drop down reasons of what it is that we needed. Was it something that I had to pay for by the hour or the day? Here I can put in the amount. Now here, this is where the GL lookup, we can actually control this based off of the users, so that it will start to narrow this down to exactly the user's GL account. So if I chose a certain project, it would narrow that GL account down a little bit further. If you use branches, all of those types of things we can narrow down on GL determination. If I wanted them to attach receipts, if they're using this on a tablet, and I'll send an email to everybody on this call tomorrow so that you can see, if you're on a tablet or a phone, you can actually take a photo and attach that. So I'll show you this whole workflow in a 5-minute video. It's out on our YouTube channel on our Fix It Friday, where the employee enters it, submits the receipt, and so on and so forth. Next one that I'm going to show you is purchase requests. So this is where, as a user, we would fill out pieces of information saying, this is the item that I need. So this is where we can start looking at these items. If I wanted to put images here, I could, just like on the customer order side of things. So here, this is where it's pulled in the default vendor for that item. And you can see here that right now it's not priced. So maybe the buyer or the purchaser needs to price it. Or maybe we did get pricing, and I can just simply click on the filter here, change it to priced. You can see that it's pulled in the last purchase price there for that item. I could change that based off of what it is that I need. Again, similar to the sales order, I can click save and close. When I say save and close on this, what that's going to do is it's going to workflow over to an approver. So so the approver would essentially review these documents. So you can see here that I have purchase requests and review and approve return requests. But if there's any type of entry that you want approved, this is where we can do these types of things, where we can review what that item is. We can select that document. We can look at the document. If I needed to edit something, I can simply just go in and now edit this. So maybe I got better pricing. I can save and close, and then now I can change this to approved. or process or declined. And when I say approved or process, it's going to write that to SAP Business One as a purchase order. So it's going to pass through the lines, look at the vendors, and create the purchase orders. Now, as a shop employee or as an employee, we do have a report that would show them the status of those purchase requests as well, so that they know whether or not it's been approved. We can have a link to the SAP Business One purchase order as well, so that they can look at that purchase order and see when those goods are coming in. Because again, we have this whole layer of miscommunication now where, historically this was boot rubber or shoe leather, where we'd be walking back and forth and collaborating with different people. Now, we can use Versago to share all that information accordingly. Last up for today is shop floor employee. So this is where, similar to some of the other things that we've seen so far, what's the inventory? I need to enter an inventory adjustment. So maybe I broke something, and historically I would, turn in the broken item. So you can see here that, approval status is locked out because an approver needs to approve it. But this is where, what warehouse was it? And what is it that you need to adjust? Is it in or out? Did I find an item, or did I, lose an item? What item is it? So here we can choose the item, how many, and what's the reason? Is it damaged, lost? Did a sales rep need it for a sample? What is it? We can click save and close here. You can see that we can have validation. So it says reason required. So here I have to say what happened to that item. So now I can say save and close, and then that would workflow to the users. Why is this important? Why is it important that we can manage an inventory adjustment like that in real time? Well, if you remember, if the customer's seeing what we have available, it's really important for us to stay on top of what we actually have available in stock. So that's where the other side of this comes in, which is really around production material issue and production reception as well. So this is where, if I need to consume materials against a production order, we can simply, scan a traveler. It's going to grab that item that we need to use. How many am I going to issue of it? And this is going to adjust our inventory in a real-time fashion so that, we're doing the issue to production in SAP Business One, and we're drawing down that stock so that if this is an item that we sell and use, that item's no longer in that available stock. Same with labor issues. So this is where, historically an SAP Business One user would be going in and doing the labor issue based off of, time cards. So similar where, maybe you just want the user to go in and say, yeah, I spent 10 hours on this, or 10 minutes, or whatever your unit is, save and close. Or maybe you want the production employee to pick up a line and just say, yeah, I'm starting this. So start it. And then, when they're done that production run, they just simply come in here, they pick that production line up, and they say, stop it. And then that's going to do an issue to production of the delta between the start time and the end time. So up to you, or it could go to a user to approve that issue to production of that time. Another thing we're seeing a lot of is the ability to capture some quality information. So this is where, here's some pending batches for quality control. And then now this is where we can go in, we can report how many it is that we reported on. You can see how many are available to be inspected right now, the batch that we're inspecting, and then we can record things that aren't necessarily an SAP Business One field, but information that we need to keep track of for quality reasons. So, we can keep track of that information in Versago, and then we can also have the reports behind all of that to show, what the quality was. So, the reported QC. So this is the, what passed, what failed, and what the different contents were of the measurements. So in this example, we're measuring protein and fats, but if you're a metal worker, maybe you're measuring tolerances or whatever it is that you need to do. So the shop floor side of things becomes really important. The other thing is the whiteboard. Nobody's writing on the whiteboard anymore the schedule of the production orders, because here it is. This is what we're planning, and maybe you need to narrow that down by status. Maybe you need to narrow that down by work center. Whatever that is, it's very easy for us to do that using Versago and SAP Business One. Other things that we've done, where's this component used? Because maybe we need to do some disassemblies in order to use that item somewhere else. So this is where we can start to look at, kits that maybe we can disassemble in order to use some items, because supply chain's getting tighter and tighter and tighter. So again, these are just some examples of where you can, really start to provide value to your users on the floor. And it all really comes down to, gathering that information in Versago, being a platform. This is what we provide you. We provide you with these features that allow you to make a combination of those features to make a workflow. And then behind that, we can connect all that to SAP Business One in a real-time fashion. So Versago being a platform and flexible, you heard me talk about flexible up front. Really whatever it is that you want to query and get as a report, or whatever that information is that you want to gather from a user, we can build that out. The problem with that is that it takes time to really think about, okay, well, what is it that I want on that form? Or it takes time to build that, select the items. So what we've done is we've gone out and we've created these templates for you. And what these templates allow you to do is very quickly ramp up by using these templates of lookup lists and reports, or using our templated forms with the connection back to SAP Business One already kind of built for you, so that you can go in and you can get up to speed very quickly, and you can get return on investment, and you can also start to connect all these users together onto that centralized platform. So if you wanted to start with just doing service calls, you can start with just that. If you wanted to start with the customer portal, you can start with that by just grabbing the sales orders feature. Now, what's nice about these templates is that you can download them, bring them into your environment, customize them to your needs. So going in, if you have user-defined fields, adding those user-defined fields in. Or maybe it's a form and you don't need the branch, or you don't need the project code fields that I showed you on my example. Well, you can simply go in and remove those from the form, and then save it as your own. And now we're not developing. All we're doing is just configuring. And that's where the value really kind of comes in with Versago, is that we're not custom developing. What we're doing is we're using standard information that we already kind of have and know, and we're getting that information into the hands of the users in a real-time fashion, regardless of where they are. So that's the really important thing around Versago. The other really important thing around Versago is that everything that you're seeing, it's not like you have to buy the reporting module and then you have to buy the form module. It's one price for all the features, and it's based off of users. So you determine those users, and you determine the use cases that you think would help your business. And here's a list of some of the examples. If you have some use case examples that you want to talk to me about, please reach out to me, and we can talk about whether or not we've done that for another customer, or maybe that's a good Fix It Friday video for me to cover off and show you how we could do that. So by all means, reach out to me. I will send you an email tomorrow with the link to this recording, and I'll also send you some links to some Fix It Friday videos where I go in and I look at specific processes and how we can help you with those specific processes using Versago.